Welcome to FailCraft, the podcast where we dive into the messy, real side of success and explore how setbacks become the stepping stones to growth and clarity. I'm your host, Ezekiel Iferia, and today's guest, Hipolito Montero, faced a terrible reality check that changed everything. In 2019, he discovered his heart was 53% larger than normal, a dangerous condition that forced him to choose between a radical lifestyle change or the likelihood of not being there for his young daughter. He's here to share how he took that life or death ultimatum and transformed from a man struggling to walk into an athlete training for HYROX events, proving that we can all be the heroes of our own stories. So, Ippolito, it's an honor to have you on the show today. Welcome to FailCraft, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the invitation.
All right. It's great to have you here. So let's get things started. So transformation is incredible, but it started, in a moment of true crisis. You shared that in 2019, you found out your heart was 53% bigger than normal, and your doctor gave you a stark choice to lose the weight or likely lose your life. So, can you take us back to that specific consultation room? So, what did it feel like to hear that news, knowing you had a 5-year-old daughter at home?
So, yeah, it was quite interesting because I had chest pains. So, in 2019, just before the consultation, just to give you an idea why this actually happened, I had some chest pains. I didn't really understand what it was about, and they lasted for about a week. So that prompted me to go to have the consultation. I then was referred to have an X-ray at my local hospital. And then when I got the results, my family doctor stood over me. I remember very clearly. I was sat down in his office, and he basically stood over me and said, and it felt like it was a brother talking to me and not my doctor. He stood over me and said, "You do realize that you have a very young daughter, that the possibility of this situation, if not reversed, that you will likely lose your life." And this was simply a warning. These chest pains were simply a warning that your heart is basically begging for you to change. Sort of to provide a bit of context as well, when I was 9, I lost my mother. Not to the same thing, but she died unexpectedly because she was hit by a vehicle. So it was almost replaying history where I potentially was going to leave my daughter without a father. But the difference was that I had a choice. So I had to make that choice from a health perspective. I was already on high blood pressure tablets. And what the catalyst was for me, if you remember back in 2019 when a very famous disease or very famous virus was going around, that, COVID-19. And here in the UK, we were locked down in March of 2020. So I had weighed myself at the beginning of 2020. And at my heaviest, I actually weighed 130 kilos. And when we were locked down, we were basically given two options. We would either stay at home or we could exercise. So my friend and I, my very good friend and I, went to a country park that was very close to home. And there's me thinking that we were just simply going to go for a walk. But she had different ideas. Now, bearing in mind that I had absolutely zero confidence, I didn't really think I was ever going to sustain it. I didn't believe in myself, really. And she basically said, "Well, I'm going to go for a run. What are you going to do?" And then at that point, I was actually faced with another decision. Was I going to go behind and try my best, or was I going to try and find her in this nature wilderness? So I made the decision. I basically went and started running. And for 7 weeks, every day we did exactly the same thing. Added to that, she gave me so much encouragement that she prepared meals for us. So I'm quite indebted to her for getting me started. And in those 7 weeks, I actually lost between 25 and 30 kilos. I got to 100 kilos. And throughout the last 6 years, I did actually reach 90. And this was basically from making that decision and basically saying to myself, I have to do this, not only for me and my health, but for the ability for my daughter to have a father. And I persevered and did everything that I could with my friend's help. But I've had ups and downs. It wasn't all plain sailing. And one of the biggest realizations was that I was so, I suppose, committed, I guess is probably the word, but I probably was a bit obsessed. When I started to see the results, I was a bit obsessed and I didn't really control a lot of the nutrition. I wasn't sure about a lot of the information that I really needed at that time. But what I wanted to do is I wanted to concentrate on exercise, exercise, exercise. And I bought a watch that basically tracked my progress. And 175 days in, I had basically completed a run of one exercise or another, whether it was HIIT workouts, whether it was running, whether it was walking, whether it was workouts that I'd seen on apps or whatever it was. I had basically done 175 days straight. Now, my body, considering that I had done no exercise up until that day in 2020, my body said, whoa, that's enough. So I got injured. And then I was faced with another challenge where what was I going to do with that situation? We were in situations where gyms were closed. There was situations where we were not allowed to do certain things and so on. So I was really, I suppose, down. So I actually call my journey sort of journey 1, 2, and 3. And so the end of journey 1 was basically when I got injured. So I learned one valuable lesson is, listen to your body, relax, rest. So then I suffered with the pain for an amount of time. I went through journey number 2, wasn't really consistent. And by the end of journey number 2, I went into the realization, having had the advice from a PT and a nutritionist, I started to look at and understand exercise, nutrition, food, what you should and shouldn't have, what you can and can't do, and also learning about managing pain, managing things like sports therapy, that kind of thing. But I was still suffering inside that I didn't really still believe in myself. So we started reflections. We started documenting what was causing that, what the underlying trauma was, and delving into that. So my PT and I would actually discuss not only Zoom call reflections, but sometimes bi-weekly calls. And we would delve into. And eventually my mindset switched. I basically started to believe in myself, started to love what I saw in the mirror, because I was in a point where I couldn't look in the mirror. I just was disgusted with what I was seeing, that I didn't really think that I was getting the results that I wanted. So journey number 3 comes along, and I basically said to myself, no, this has to stop. I can't yo-yo. I basically had put some of the weight back on. I had situations that I had gone through. I even considered the unthinkable, even not believing in myself that much, that I was considering ending my existence. But then I started to believe that everything was possible and that I could sustain it. And it came a point where then I started to value exactly what I'd gone through, what was happening, start to understand about what the challenges were and also what the gains were. So then I said to myself, okay, what can I do in order for me to be able to value myself? So I then looked at things I could potentially do. So I found this event that is called HYROX, which is an event that's open to everybody, not only elite athletes, but it's open to everybody. So in basic terms, what the HYROX event actually is, it's factored into 8 rounds of 1 kilometer runs and then various stations like wall balls, sled push and pull, the skier rows, and those kinds of things. And then I said to my PT, I said, well, let's see where it goes. So I then looked into it and started to train for it. And this year was the most, I suppose, the most important of them all, which then I've become more consistent. I started to do some running. I reached my first K in about July. Then I achieved my first 10K in August. I've been consistent ever since. I've grown so much stronger. I'm the healthiest I've ever been. Feel great, not only mentally, but not only physically, but mentally. And I feel that I need to speak out, because something like this, it wouldn't be something that I would have done 4 or 5 years ago. I wouldn't have spoken about it. I wouldn't have had the courage to even be in a public place talking about it, let alone on a podcast. Not only that, the first time I went into the gym was incredibly a surreal moment, because I actually was looking around thinking that people would look at me and judge. And that's not really the case. And I just basically want to tell my story because I know that there is people that are in my position where I was in 2019 that need to listen to people like me and get out of their situation. Because for me, it was a trap. My body was a trap. And I felt like I was in jail. And this journey has taught me that you can be you can be the hero of your own journey. In fact, there's things that I do now that I would never have thought possible in a million years, let alone in the small amounts of time that I've been doing this. And it's also been, I suppose, I feel that I've begun my life in 2019. I was born many years ago, but I
Mm,
feel that I've really gotten in tune with me physically, mentally, and looked at the possibilities, because I've been able to do things like the 5K run, the 10K run. I've experimented with calisthenics. I've been able to do things that, even going into this HYROX thing, I never thought that I would ever be able to compete in a stage where there's loads of people that are actually doing it. Now
okay,
I'm actually
right.
volunteering to judge in the event next week. Actually, next Thursday and Friday, there's one event. It's a HYROX event.
Fantastic.
So, as a volunteer, you get a chance to go and be nominated for tickets for an actual event next year. So that's why I'm doing it. So I get to see it in real life, and I'll
All
get
right.
basically quite close to realizing my dream. And beyond that, I want to encourage my daughter to do the same, to be healthy, to be active, to be not like me, but better than me. So,
All right.
and it's working well, because she's also showing skills at school that I never had opportunities to do. So that's another reason why I'm doing it. I think not only adults should be doing, but children should be doing it.
So,
So that's a brief introduction to who I am and where I've come.
yeah, truly, truly inspiring story. Thank you very much for sharing. And I hope it gives hope to someone out there listening. So, one question. You were honest about getting injured right when things were going well. So, setbacks like that often cause people to relapse into old habits. So, how did you fight the demons on self-doubt during that recovery time?
Actually, the reason I actually got just carried on was I actually started to remember what it was like before, and I didn't want to get to that point. The injury in itself was a journey because I tried sports therapy, I tried osteopaths, and then I found that. And then, out of desperation, I basically went to another place, which I actually still use today. And I learned how to fight through the pain is the wrong word, but I wanted to be determined for setbacks not to stop me. And one of the things that I learned is that these things are going to happen, and you just have to learn to basically manage it the best way possible, using professional help, using your body to tell you what's going on, to listen to your body, to do a lot of research as well. But it was very hard because it took me about 2.5 years before I got to the place where actually they actually helped me, and now I'm virtually pain free. But it's not without its maintenance, because what I do is I actually 4 times a month I do massages twice a month, and I also do 2 chiropractic sessions a month. And I find it invaluable because some people believe that once the pain goes away that you don't need anything anymore, but that's not really true. That's not strictly true. You basically have to maintain it. And I also do a regime of stretches morning and evening, and it basically helps me manage the pain. So I'm about 96% pain free, but sometimes it does come back, and it's just basically a common misconception that you're going to be pain free straight away, and that's not the case. You have to navigate it. But also, when I sort of changed my mindset, I then looked at failure as a challenge. So whenever I failed, I would get back up, learn from it,
Mm.
and carry on.
So, moving forward, after saving your own life and rebuilding your body and mind, I'd like to know, what does being successful truly mean to you now?
Success means that I can do truly impossible things. So the way that I frame it is, impossible is just a word where possible is possible, because if you take the I am off out of possible, everything is possible.
Mm.
I
Possible.
basic Yeah. So there's no such thing as impossible. Your mind is the one that plays tricks on you. Once you get away from the fear of doing things, you become almost unstoppable. There is also, don't get me wrong, there's always the apprehension, but if you don't try, you don't know. It's really
Mm.
that simple. You have to try in order for you to be able to find what is possible and what isn't possible. But
You're
I
right.
truly believe that your own mind is your own worst enemy. I tried things that I never thought were possible, and I think by doing that, it's made me so much stronger, mentally, that I think I could do things with time that, I suppose, you look at it and you think, no, that just I can't do that. You just have to reframe it.
All right. Really interesting response there, Hipolito. So, finally, for our listeners who want to follow your fitness journey or connect with you, where is the best place for them to go?
Well, Instagram is the best place to follow me. My tag is, well, it's a Spanish tag. It's at GALLEGOROJO233. Yeah, but Instagram is where I basically post my journey. I've got quite a few posts. I've got about 300 posts in there. It
Wow.
basically goes literally from the beginning to the present day. And yeah, it's if I can sort of encourage someone to look at it and try it, that's all I would ask. Try it. You will be surprised.
All right. This has been such an inspiring conversation, Hipolito, and I am indeed excited to have you share your story on FailCraft today.
And it's been a pleasure.